Great day, and welcome to Discussions with Indigenous Education. I'm your host, Tavis Sanders, also known as Red Tail Hawk. I'd like to welcome my mother, our co-founder, and our co-host, Red Silver Fox, also known as Renee Sanders.
Greetings, everyone.
And we'd like to thank you for participating with us and checking us out this season of Discussions with Indigenous Education. We have a few more episodes left this season, and we thought maybe we should take a break and maybe share some of the things that we have going on this summer with the group, maybe some things that they can get involved with over the summer and going into early fall, and just ways for you to participate, contribute, support not just us as a nonprofit, but other organizations in the city and just the outdoors in general, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, right? COVID's over, nothing is shut down anymore. You know, everybody's going to be out there. We definitely still want to make sure that we are considerate to people's health and well-being. And so I think that's something that we should hopefully try to continue to promote as we move forward further away from the pandemic. But now that we're out and about, right, we can get outside, we can connect with each other again. Let us share some of the events that we have coming up and also some of the partnerships that we have established over the last year with respect to the involvement in our events.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So before I let you get all into your thing, right, let me share some of the organizations, right, because Indigenous Education, we're not doing this on our own. We have partnered with some really good organizations over the last year that's going to assist us. And I think first thing we want to talk about is our bike ride. Yeah, and so, you know, as a part of our bike ride, we partnership with two organizations, Indego and the Bicycle Coalition of the Greater Philadelphia region. And so, you know, we just want to make sure that we acknowledge them, and we want to definitely share Indego. And so if you're interested, you can check their website at the link below. But Indego is the organizations that have all of the blue bikes all across the city.
Yeah, I have seen many of them, many stations that are going around the city, and I'm understanding that they're going to be adding more and more around the city. So that's a good thing to get people moving.
Right. So yeah, they going up to North Philly and they going into West Philly. You know, and people were complaining that they weren't in certain communities, but they are actively participating and getting into those communities. And definitely check out Indego as a part of that community ride sharing concept. And actually, I've used it since I learned it and since we partnered. I used them a few times. I left my car home like, you know what? Let me get on my bike real quick. It's easy, you know, it's cheap, right, or reasonable for individuals, and I don't have to worry about parking. And so, yeah, and then we have the Bicycle Coalition of the Greater Philadelphia region, and they're the ones that, you know, work along with us, work with the community, that is, to actually bring this concept to this city, but a whole lot of other cities also. And they're the ones that actually helped us plan the route. Well, I know my mother went with us when we went all on our route, but they're the ones help us plan the route, make sure everybody's safe. The ones that's going to say, "Hey, stop streets," you know, and let our tour go through the through the lights and intersections. Make sure everybody is safe. So definitely want to give a shout out to the Bicycle Coalition and definitely check their link out at the address below also. And so those are the two organizations that we partner with, and of course the city of Philadelphia, right, to bring this experience that we're hosting this year called
Cycling to Indigenous Spaces.
Correct. My mom, just make sure. So we're going to be doing a bicycle tour to indigenous spaces throughout the Philadelphia region. But before we talk about this particular tour, you know, I wanted to ask, you know, why did you think it was important for us to do this, and why did you want to do this with those organizations, and maybe what you think people would be able to get out of this experience?
Well, being Indigenous education, and education is what we do, or that is the purpose
Right.
for our organization. Uh, we've been looking for different ways, to reach out to the community so that we can get this history out. We know that sometimes history can be a little difficult to get through to people. People are not really interested in history. It's one of the subjects in school that
Are underfunded, right? Not that the whole school system is underfunded. Another topic.
yeah, right. or that people are really that interested in. Oh, that happened 100 years ago. Why should I be concerned about those kinds of things? But knowing the importance of knowing history,
Right.
and knowing our history. So we looking for different ways to get this out to people, and so we thought that riding around on a bicycle would be a great way to get to get this information out to people.
For sure. You get the people outside, right? And it's more than even more than sitting down in front of your TV set like we do right now and share this information through, broadcast or streaming services. We felt like, it's a way for us to connect, in the physical world and actually be able to touch these spaces and be able to see the evolution of these spaces and how they actually matter to what we have developed with respects to our cities today, even the layout and why the layouts are where they are. I'm interested enough, I know as we were going through the history developing this tour, we found some spaces and places that have been removed.
Well, that is the case all over the United States.
Right.
And that's the thing too, that people don't even realize that some of these things that are still, some of these indigenous spaces that are still somewhat visible if you knew the things to look for. And so again, this is just a way to get this information out to people.
Right. And so I think let's take a break there. When we get back, we're going to share this specific bike tour. And then, if people are interested, they can email us and maybe we could set up another one with them over the course of the summer. But let's take a small break, thank our sponsors. And when we get back, we can share our first tour with Indigo Bicycle Coalition. We'll be right back with more discussions with Indigenous Education.
Greetings. My name is Stephanie Ridgway, and I'm the Indigo Community Coordinator, and I'm standing here this morning with one of our 2023 ambassadors, Indigenous Education. We'd like to shout out and let you know exactly what an Indigo ambassador is and why it's so important that Indigo is seen in the community. Indigo started in 2015 and is owned by the city of Philadelphia. We have been integral in trying to create new ways of transportation and healthcare throughout the city.
Welcome back to Discussions with Indigenous Education. So before the break, we were talking about our tour, right? Bike riding to indigenous spaces within the Philadelphia region. This was our first bike ride experience, and definitely was interested and am interested in sharing this with y'all so that y'all can engage. So before we tell you a little bit about this particular site, we are, West Philadelphia. We're going to stay in West Philadelphia this time for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And so we leave, right? We're going to be leaving from 52nd and Chestnut at the local YMCA. Shout out to YMCA, right? They have a station there for our West Philadelphia people that's interested in the community bike sharing experience. So we left from 52nd Street and we're going to go visit a mound site that actually is here in West Philadelphia, right? And so let me not even share any more about that. Let me give it over to my mom and let my mom share the space, the place, the names, and all of the good things that we want to know about.
Okay.
the Blockley Almshouse. Let's talk about that. This is what this area is called.
Yes. Now, and this, well, an almshouse.
The almshouse.
which was a house that was for poor people. It's like a hospital, but like for poor people.
Okay.
It started in the South Philadelphia area, which is, of course, is where Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia, was started.
Right. Everything east of the
of the Schuylkill, correct.
Okay.
And but as time goes on, it started getting more populated, and it just things got a little bit too large for them, and so they needed to find another area to move the almshouse.
The poor people.
So,
Go ahead.
and to take care of them, the hospital. Okay, the hospital.
Okay, was this a mental hospital? Just a?
No, it's just a hospital.
Just a hospital.
Just a hospital. Yes. So, so areas now in the Philadelphia area, in the Philadelphia region, that are now not being, occupied by so many people, are what is now considered the suburbs.
Okay.
Okay, and what is considered the suburbs of Philadelphia is on the other side of the Schuylkill River.
So West.
Okay, so the West Philadelphia area.
Southwest.
And this area was being built up, and people were buying properties in this area, and they were buying very, very, very large properties. But they got this area here, which was owned by Blockley. Okay. And they built the almshouse in this area on the other side of the Schuylkill.
Okay, so Blockley is the owner of the property.
Yes.
Supposedly, right?
Well, not supposedly.
Well, can't be. We don't believe in ownership. But so Blockley, he got the deed to the land, and now he wants to build a hospital for poor people.
Well, no, he allowed the hospital to be built on his property.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, and so they named it after the area where it was built.
Okay.
Okay. And now, but this area, again, it became a very large area. Then the area that was blocked out for them was a very large area. And then University of Pennsylvania takes over the area, and it starts getting built over. But now there is a state marker that is in that area to designate even the historical significance of that almshouse.
Of the almshouse. But we haven't talked about the historical significance of the location and the land that the house is on. So let's talk a little bit about that history and what the people would see if they went on this tour with us.
Okay, well, as we're doing research, we discovered that this area was an area that was occupied by the indigenous people here in Philadelphia, the Lenape, and the entire city was referred to as Lenape-Hoking.
The entire land mass.
Yes.
All of the Lenape lands.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And but this particular area, and which the Lenape had several different sections in the Philadelphia area, which we did discuss in the Indigenous Villages of Philadelphia.
Correct.
So the area that we will be in was part of the Aronimink area.
Okay.
And when this was in 1930s, when they were tearing down really the old almshouse, and really a parking lot was starting to get built in that area. And when they demolished the area, they found artifacts.
Okay.
Now they also found, because again, this was the almshouse, they found burials of the people that died in the almshouse. So they did find some of those burials, but they also found indigenous burials and they found indigenous artifacts.
All right. And so I actually want to show them some of the images of some of the things that they found as we discuss some of this. But one of the important things that I wanted to point out were two things, right? The first thing is the map, right? The map, the older map of the area, and on that map you can see a mound,
Yes.
And that's an important, and that which is why we wanted to discuss this location. Not only do we know that the indigenous population would use this particular location as, if I'm not mistaken, you said their summer home?
Well, they even when they found these artifacts, they said that they realized that this was an area which they called a campground.
Okay.
And the campgrounds were what their living spaces. And so yes, so they realized that this was an area that the indigenous people were living in, where they there for extended amounts of time.
And we know that, most indigenous populations here also utilized mounds as their for various purposes, for spiritual, for religious, for ceremonial, for territorial purposes, for security, right? And they also utilized these for living, whether inside or on top, depending on the type of mound it is.
Yes, and most of these mounds are you find them close to streams,
Creeks and waterways.
rivers, creeks. And that was one thing that Philadelphia had many, many, many creeks, which again is something that we talked about in that presentation about the indigenous villages of Philadelphia.
Right.
There were so many streams that were captured and they're now flowing up underneath our streets. And that area is one where one of the major creeks was put underground, where it is no longer there.
Right, and we're going just to show that map again for them one more time so they can take a look at some of the creeks. As a matter of fact, Mill Creek that's on this map is not there anymore.
Right.
However, we wanted to just point out what a mound would look like, right? In the way that they would depict mounds on the maps, right? And so it's a really good example of this mound. Now, interesting enough, and we'll show them some of the live footage also of what it looks like today. But, let's talk about a little bit of the history of what they did to this particular mound.
Yes, well, yes, very interesting that at first when the almshouse was there, it was being utilized as a reservoir, as a water reservoir.
Always.
Which we have found that that they have done that on various mounds in the Philadelphia area. They did it to a mound that is in Fairmount Park, and they did it to where the art museum stands, which was also used as a water reservoir. Yeah, so this area, it was first used as a reservoir, but now they have turned it into a beautiful park.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Interesting enough, my mother and I both born and raised in West Philadelphia, and we didn't know that this park was even there, right? And so that's another reason why we felt like it was really important, right? And it's also, we like to say to schools and universities like University of Penn, listen, you got to let this community know, right? You in West Philadelphia. We both born and raised in West Philadelphia, and we don't know that this park is available because, you got it pretty much blocked off and hidden from public view and only for your school. And that's not it's indigenous spaces, right? And so as, what our hope is that these tours also bring, attention to spaces that really need to be preserved, be saved, and be documented in the proper space.
I was going to say, what is interesting about this, though, is that even when they found these artifacts, they found them and they documented it and they stored the things away, but there was no law or anything in place that said that they had to do any more research in the area. So what did they do? They gathered up some of the artifacts that they found, again, documented them, and then they continued to build the parking lot.
And it's still there now, and interesting enough. And you know what? Let's take a small break, right? Because I actually want to get to a very important point. And so let's take a small break right here. We need to thank our sponsors one more time, and then we get back. We'll wrap this show up, and then we'll let them know about some other opportunities for them to come and participate in a tour that we have coming up later in the season. So we'll be right back with more discussions with Indigenous Education.
Hi everybody, my name is Lor Song. I'm the Education Programs Manager here at the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia. What we do is advocacy and education. When we say advocacy, we do a lot of policy work to provide everybody with a safe and fun way to get around Philadelphia. When we talk to education, a lot of my work revolves around education. I work with Indigo, the City of Philadelphia, and also the Better Bike Share Partnership. And what we do is we provide free classes and rides, learn to ride classes, and community group rides for the communities that surround Philadelphia, so that it's equitable, accessible to those that really need it. If you want to learn more information about what we do, please visit our website at bicyclecoalition.org. And on social media, feel free to follow us on Twitter at BCGP, on Instagram at Bicycle Coalition of Greater, and also on Facebook, just Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia. So, hope to see y'all soon.
All right, we're back with more discussions with Indigenous Education. And right before the break, we were talking about the artifacts and how they just stored them and continued on with their, manifest destiny, right? A conversation for the next show. How about that? Right. And they just put these things to the side, write an article about them every now and then in some local newspaper, maybe in the university paper, and that's it. Interesting enough, I wanted to just share some things with them, some really important facts, so that they can understand why it's really important for us to go after this, right? So my mother's looking at the artifacts that they found. They did take images, and again, they do have them stored. And she's reading the descriptions of the artifacts, and we're talking about, these Clovis points. If people are aware of Clovis points, if not too much for this show, maybe take a look at some of the other shows. But nonetheless, Native American Clovis points, these tools that they found that show that populations were existing in the area, and can pretty much date that time based off the tools that was being used in that region. My mother saying, "Hey, look, interesting. Look at these images of these artifacts that they found." And she said, "Look at the Clovis points." And I say, and then she shows me the next row, and I look and I said, "Those look like pre-Clovis points." And my mother says, "Exactly." And so pre-Clovis points would reference a population that existed prior to the popular migration theory that is taught to us in the education system today, which means that it were other population that existed in the Americas prior to the migration over the Bering Strait. And we have evidence of this, right? And so hiding that pre-Clovis point reference way up here in Philadelphia.
Well, see, you know what? And again, what they said was is that the points that they showed, it said that that was designating a particular time. So they were saying that this is showing, and again, because of the way that particular tool was made, that they know that these tools were made between 4000 BC up until they said zero. Okay. To the current era. Okay. So again, the design of that point and that tool, we know that these tools were made at this particular time. And they called, again, but the next pictures that they showed, they called them biface tools. And they said that these biface tools were made, because they do it on both sides. And that was the thing that we recognized. It's just like, well, wait a minute. They called them a biface tool which you could see, and again, you could see that that's exactly what it is. However, they did not give more information. They did not say that these tools are older than the other tools that they found. So again, they just it's there, which happens a lot of time with Indigenous history, where they will just state things and just put it there and then just leave it to you to figure out.
Right. And actually that's why we established Indigenous Education, so that we could take a look at these things and then start to offer the public more of a factual and historical perspective on these omitted facts with respect to our history. You know, that even here as far north as Philadelphia, we have Pre-Clovis points, and that we have mounds as far up here as Philadelphia, right? And what that would mean to history, right, with respects to us as an indigenous population, and what we did in the just the science that we had, you know, which is another conversation for another day. So many different things just here in Philadelphia. But, you know, we need to wrap it up. So, you know, we wanted to just, you know, share some of that history with respects to, right, you know, indigenous spaces in Philadelphia, and hope that these things might interest you. And so as we close up, you know, we want to give everybody an opportunity. We know that we have a show coming up in October 2023. Not a show, another bike tour coming up in October 2023. And we wanted to, you know, share the opportunity for everybody to come out if you're interested and engage with us, but also, you know, the Bicycle Coalition and Indigo. And so, you know, these are the things that we share, right? And then biking these spaces, you get to realize how massive the lands were that these people were caring for, right? And then the best of all, some of the mounds, even though the colonists may not know what they were, some of these mounds were preserved, and we can take the opportunities to rehab them, share their history, and then allow indigenous peoples to connect back to our territories. And so we think it's a good opportunity for you all to engage with us, share these spaces, and, you know, hopefully you feel welcome to engage with us in supporting our efforts to save some of these spaces.
And learn a little something in the meantime.
Right, and learn something new too. Right? And so we'd like to thank you very much. You know, we have the Indigenous Peoples Day coming up also in October. And so October is a big month for the collective and for the Philadelphia region to join in. If you're not in the Philadelphia area and you would like to support or participate, please check our website out at indedu.org, where we have books and materials that you can purchase, you know, if you wanted to support us. And we have a shop site where you can purchase our logos on various items. My mother's
lessons.
books. Yeah, lessons on our courses website. So we have a lot of great ways for you to get this information, get involved in, and most of all, we have some things for you to reach out to that are free so that you can, you know, get yourself started and to figure out if this information is worthwhile to you. And so, again, I'd like to thank you for checking us out today. Again, my name is Tavis Sanders, also known as Red Tail Hawk. I'd like to thank my mother, Renee Sanders, also known as Red Silver Fox. We are Indigenous Education, a nonprofit established to share the history of the omitted populations of indigenous peoples in the Americas. Thank you, and we see you next time.
Peace.
We would like to thank our sponsors, the 215 Guys, Philly's go-to website agency for small businesses. Queens United Holistic, located in the 1000 block of Warrior Road in Drexel Hill. And while you're there, don't forget to pick up your copy of Revealing America's Dark-Skinned Past, Volume 1 and 2.
It's the same hustle, it's the same thing, the same tears on everything. Maybe one day we'll see we're one big family, like it's one shadow. It's the same sunshine, it's the same rain, the same struggle.